All right, students, welcome to our chef guest series today. We are with Chef Jet Tila, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about what he does.
Hi, students. It's Jet Tila here. I'll give you just the really quick bio. I currently judge and co-host a few shows on the Food Network, including Iron Chef America, Cutthroat Kitchen, Guys Grocery Games, Beat Bobby Flay. So I do a lot of the competition shows. But previous to that, I've been in restaurants and cooking for about 25 years. My parents actually started the first Thai restaurants and markets in the country. So I have a Thai Chinese food background. I went to French culinary school, and then I went to Japanese culinary school. And then after that, some of the highlights of my career previous to TV is I've chefed from fine dining to really top-notch hotels and casinos around the world. I was early on at Google and Cisco and a lot of the big tech firms. So I have cooked for one person all the way to 10,000 people. And that's kind of my specialty. So I would say Asian food is my specialty, but again, I do have a pretty diverse background. You guys want any more info, you guys can find me on social, but it's a pleasure to be here. Hopefully this will be a fun class, and looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, we're so grateful to have you, and we're excited to make some easy lo mein noodles today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I started with already cooking the pasta. And I don't think you need to see the pasta, but that's going there. What I'm going to do though is I want to really break this class up into a stir fry class. Now, stir fry is basically a very quick cooking in a wok, but you don't need a wok in my opinion. I'm going to use just a larger skillet. Let's start with the mise en place. So I'll put that together. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
You tell me, this is your show. I'm just a guest. So.
Well, we're happy to have you, and you lead us. We're ready.
All right, excellent. I would break things down into three categories, right? We do all the mise en place, and the mise en place is going to be proteins, the vegetable, or what I would say the knife work is, and then the sauce work. So we're going to go into three. I'm going to switch gears so you guys can actually see what's happening. All right, so you have the pasta boiling away, but on this side here, I'm going to do the protein last because it is chicken. We don't like to cross-contaminate raw chicken with other, stuff. So I like to work from sauce, veg, and then protein. So I think that eliminates or keeps it as safe as possible. So we're going to do a brothy sauce. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do just a little bit of chicken stock there. See if I can get you a better view. It's pretty decent. So we've got chicken stock as the base. Now, most people think that soy sauce is kind of like the end all be all of Asian food, but that's not the case. We're going to put just a dab of soy sauce. As you'll see, it's not the most important sauce. This is the most important sauce, actually. This is called oyster sauce. It does have oysters in it, so if you're allergic to shellfish, you can get a vegetarian version. But what we're going to do is really use oyster sauce as the main sauce, as the base here, because if you separate Asian food into 5 flavors, I would say that Asian food is hot, sour, salty, sweet, and savory. And the really fancy word for savory that we're using nowadays is umami. That's just simply a Japanese word that translates to the spirit of flavor. But oyster sauce has all this flavor. So if you were to take one sauce into an Asian food competition, Chinese specifically, it would be oyster sauce. All right. So back to making the sauce. So I know I've got salt, I've got savory, I've got the chicken stock as kind of the as the main kind of gravy. But now we want to thicken this. So we all know what slurry is, right? When you take cornstarch and cold liquid, and I always start making the cornstarch in a separate bowl, because if I threw a bunch of that cornstarch inside the sauce, it would clump up. But this way I can control the slurry. So I'm going to add a little slurry right in, and I'm always going to hold a little on the side in case I need to kind of thicken this sauce a la minute, meaning a very, very kind of on the fly. And then there it is. So oyster sauce, soy sauce, cornstarch slurry, chicken stock. And the final thing to understand is sesame oil is very aromatic. It's delicious, but it's not a stir fry oil. It should be a flavoring. And again, I'm only adding just a few dashes because I really want to kind of bulk up some flavor. So there's our sauce. If you find yourself a very saucy cook, like you love gobs and gobs of sauce, you can up multiply that sauce as big as you want, as small as you want. But this is a reasonable amount of sauce for one serving. Okay, so questions on sauce?
No, that looks great.
All right, great. Let's go to our mise en place, the rest of it, which is very quick, by the way. So the recipe calls for bok choy, and you don't need bok choy, right? Any green vegetable. I actually always keep a little bit of spinach on hand, but if you're using baby bok choy translates in Chinese to white vegetable. Obviously it's green right now, but as it grows up, it turns pure white with the green leaves. So this is baby. I always take these little edges off here, and I'll throw those into chicken stock or something like that, because I think they're super aromatic. For now, I'll just compost that. And then the bok choy has the stalk and then the leaves. The leaves are less dense than the stalk, so I don't cut them similarly, right? So I'll actually separate the leaves from the stalk first, because these are delicate. These are a little more durable. So I can cut the things that are durable into smaller pieces to even out the cooking time. So if you can see, the stalk is tiny, the leaves are big, but they're going to cook up at exactly the same rate. All right. So there's bok choy. Garlic now. I'm just going to, for stir fry, don't overthink garlic, right? I just want you to cut it up because it's going to go into a 400-degree pan. And that garlic is too small. It's going to burn very, very quickly. So I flatten it out and I give it a very kind of rough chop. I want the pieces even, I just don't want them too small, okay? Because I do want them to brown up and kind of survive that oil and kind of permeate and perfume that oil. And in terms of ginger, what tips can I give you? I don't peel ginger in every case, and this is actually out of the freezer, which is totally fine. So if you remember my cutting rhyme, a tile becomes a slice and a slice becomes a dice. You can cut just about anything. So I'm going to cut 1/8-inch tiles, and then tiles becomes what? Tiles become slices, and this is that kind of blades of grass ginger cut that we use for fish and steaming. Gives you a nice long presentation. If you don't want that and you want it just to kind of blend in, just remember that slice becomes a dice. So I just want the ginger now to be a part of the stir fry and kind of melt in without calling it out or having it be too big of a piece right there. So that's kind of mise en place. Believe it or not, we just knocked out mise en place. I'm going to do protein here, and like I said, I'm not going to cross contaminate. So I'm taking a gel board, little gel board here. I'm going to cut my chicken on that gel board. And the thing you have to remember with an Asian stir fry, how you cut things is pretty critical, right? Things that are really, really teeny, like garlic and ginger, are going to blend in and you're not going to really notice them. The bok choy, you will notice. So chicken, I'm going to cut into planks. And the rule of thumb to me is 2 fingers, 2 long, 2 wide, about as thin. So remember, just put the 2 fingers there, and I'll show you that cut presently here. So I'll take the chicken, find the grain, and I'm gonna lay the knife. Notice this is perpendicular. This is bias, right? I'm gonna cut at an angle. So when I finish slicing, it's kind of like watching the sushi chefs cut sashimi, but I want to end up with, remember, 2-finger planks, okay? And by making sure you cut thin slices, they'll cook really quickly. I'm going to show you how to apply a marinade as well. So this chicken is in a metal bowl. And to get that Asian kind of super tender chicken, this is what we're going to do. We're going to add a little baking soda. And this can be to any protein, any stir fry. A tiny bit of baking soda. Remember that slurry for the sauce? We're going to add a tiny bit of slurry here into the chicken. And then this will give you texture, kind of that slippery, tender texture. If you wanted to add a little flavor, then this is where you would add just a drop of soy sauce. And some of us call this a velveting technique, where you would get a protein super tender. So I just call it a stir fry marinade. So there's your basics on the mise en place. Can I pause for questions as I wash the chicken off my hand?
Sure. What do you love about being a chef?
Well, I think for me, unlike a lot of other chefs that you might have met or seen on television, I started as a really young child. So it wasn't this passion that I found later in life. It was a way of life in my family because we cooked. So, but the consistent thing that I've always enjoyed about being a chef, I'm going to drain this pasta off, by the way, as I talk to you, is, you know what, creating an experience for people, making people happy, right? Doing something, creating a dish, watching someone eat that dish, and watching that smile on their face. So, we are what we call the service industry. So if you don't like to serve, you might not be in the right industry. So for me, it's about just making people happy. All right, so let's take a check at mise en place. I've got chicken, check. Sauce, check. I've got all my protein, all my vegetables, check. And my pasta. That's just simply linguine because I like the shape of it. But if you can find lo mein noodles or yakisoba noodles, great. If you can't, not a big deal. So, all right. I can cook. We can chat. We could do whatever you want. I'm
Okay.
easy peasy here.
I think that one thing the students often wonder is, how does someone make a jump from working in the food industry to then being on television?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in my generation, I'm in my mid 40s now, and most people that I've cooked with, I did not get into this industry to go into television. Unlike now, I think a lot, because Food Network's been around for over 20 years now, and Top Chef and all these shows, I think people go into school with the aspirations of going into television. So the best thing I could tell you, so how do people make the jump? I think if you have that goal constantly in mind, that is half the battle, right? But you can't, if you really want to be a great chef, that's not exactly the same as being a great television chef. Those are two different skill sets. Okay, so the chef path is all about learning fundamentals. You got to go. Hopefully, you go to school. If you don't go to school, you work in really great restaurants, and you work your way up. Right? You become a prep cook, a chef de cuisine. Maybe one day be a sous chef, and then maybe an executive chef and on. And that probably would take at least 10 years. Reality wise, if you are mindful and you're really more focused on TV, I would really still work on your fundamentals, but find those opportunities to get either on camera, because it's a different set of skills to be very engaging here and then trying to cook at the same time. So I would really recommend improv and acting classes concurrently. But you can't fool people by not having really good fundamentals. Like when you watch me cook and cut things, you're like, oh, that dude's done this for a long time. You need to get yourself to that point, and then hopefully you bolster your television presence, and then they those two meet. But they're two different skills. I came from the school of learning how to cook really well, but I had mentors like Guy and Alton and Bobby to teach me how to be really good on TV. So two different skills.
So what was your introduction into TV then?
Yeah, so I currently am coming to you from Los Angeles right now, and I was in the right place at the right time many times. So when I was chefing in Los Angeles, we had a lot of TV people here, obviously, right? We're right here in Beverly Hills and Hollywood area. I used to private chef for a bunch of producers that would make television content, and it was basically necessity. They needed a chef for a show called Smart Solutions, or called The Best Of on Food Network. This is one of the first shows on Food Network. And they're like, yo, we're stuck. Can you cook something? So I just happened into it. So I guested on a Food Network show because I knew the producer. And then second to that, there was a very famous PBS host. His name is Huell Hauser. He did a lot of California shows. And then after culinary school, I went to the LA Times as a test kitchen intern. So I always had, being in Los Angeles, I was always very close to television production people, and that was just my role. I didn't get deep into television until 10 years ago. I was cooking at the Wynn Las Vegas, a very, very prestigious big hotel. They asked me to battle Iron Chef Morimoto. I almost beat him because they expected me to lose. And then based on that loss win, they asked me to do a lot more television. And my first regular show was a show called Cutthroat Kitchen, which was a big hit. And then after Cutthroat Kitchen, they asked me to go on. So I would say that my advice to you, and you're going to get lots of different advice from different people, I think it's very important to focus on being very good at fundamental skills. And I think if you're very good at fundamental skills, the next part you need to learn is the TV part, but at least you have one down, because you're going to need one or the other. You're either phenomenal on television and you're pretty good as a cook, or you're really great as a cook. You got to be pretty decent on TV. So it takes a balance.
Right. I love that your example of your loss actually was a win, because it directed you in another way. And I think that sometimes the fear of losing prohibits people from taking a chance, but you never know where that chance is going to lead, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, it's such a cliche, but it's true. I mean, I have little kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. But if you don't try, you're never going to have a chance to succeed. Right. And in a lot of your trying, you're gonna fail. But it's about walking away from the failures. And I'm always asking myself, no matter what did I learn, or what can I learn, right? So yeah, to your point, losing is just as important as winning, because it teaches you the lesson to hopefully win the next time, and B, it feels so good to win after you lose. But that's just life. If you can program yourself and tell yourself, you're going to lose a lot, but in losing, you're going to gain some knowledge to make yourself better. You can't be scared. You can't be scared to try, because the one common thing that all of us that you watch on television consistently is we've taken a lot of chances. We've failed a lot, but it took those chances to get where we are. So there's no magic path. One in a billion is going to be born with that kind of luck and opportunity. Most of us have had to work our way up there.
Right. Awesome. Let's get cooking.
Let's do it. Okay. So I'm going to get a side towel. I like cooking with a side towel. Let me show you my setup here. I've switched burners to a wok. And my number one rule of cooking is make sure your heat's very high. There's no reason to turn heat down. I think you should stay ahead of the cooking by putting the next ingredient in versus turning the heat down. Okay. I like using, actually, another tip is, stir fry can be so unhealthy because of the amount of oil that's used. So I like to use, this is actually an avocado oil that's pushed out of a can. So it's about 5 calories per second. And I can get really great coverage that way. Okay. All right. So order of operations, family. First thing is oil. Second thing is gonna be aromatics. Okay. And I've got garlic and I've got ginger in there. Another good tip, kids, is one of these, bench scraper. Keep one around, keep one handy. You could use a plastic one if you want. I just happen to reach for a metal one. But watch what this bench scraper does. I can gather. It's like having a third appendage to help you gather stuff. Keeps things clean too. Okay. All right. So the wok is sizzling. And I want to make sure I don't like to tell you, hey, cook it for 30 seconds or a minute. Cook it till you smell it. Because I don't know how high your heat is. I don't know how high your stove goes. I'm looking for a very light brown. And I'm looking for, you want to smell the garlic and ginger. Next is the chicken. And I'm using chicken breast here. So as we know, chicken breast is leaner than chicken thigh. So really use your surface area when you're wok cooking, okay? You have all this heat, use it, don't bunch things up. And then your second job as a wok cook is really don't be afraid to scrape things that are starting to stick. All right, I have a coated pan here, so I'm not using metal. But if you have a metal pan, like you do there, get in there with metal utensils, okay? It'll really, really helps a lot. So this chicken is gonna cook about halfway. And I'm always thinking about my ingredients. Is bok choy gonna take longer than noodles? I think so. So that's why bok choy is gonna go in now, right? Because I don't want to cook the chicken 100% because I still have about 3 minutes to go. If I want to cook it 3 minutes from done. And the idea in wok cooking is by the time the first ingredient is cooked in the pan, the last ingredient has to be perfectly cooked in the pan. So it's a reverse order of operations situation. So, and you gotta rely on your senses too. I'm looking here. I'm looking for nothing to stuck to the pan. I'm looking for the chicken to be cooking, the veggies to do well, and everything's looking good so far. Now let's go with noodles. Your pan's looking great in there. Awesome. Yep. So noodles are in. And by using a pan spray, I can add oil as I need and still keep it pretty low calories. All right, noodles are going in, and you want to use the wok to sear about every component. And we call that in Chinese cooking a wok hei, the breath of the wok. So the wok needs to be like kind of kiss and perfume each component to get it a little smoky. You want it that beautiful kind of smokiness that really high heat stir fry gives you. And that's why I'm not rushing to put my sauce in. Okay, I'm smelling toasty garlic. I'm smelling vegetables. I'm seeing a little bit of brown on these veggies. Oh, you get an extreme close up there. And now I'm going to take the sauce. And remember, there was slurry in here. Okay, and so let's just go right in. And cornstarch gelatinizes or thickens around 180 degrees. Visually, I'm looking for a low simmer because I know water boils at 212. So I know if I'm in a simmer, I'm right around that 180 to 200 degrees. Okay. That's how fast this is. So I'm turning down the heat now. When I see the bubbles occurring, I know that my slurry is thickening. So I'm going to turn down the heat and kind of tidy up and grab my plate. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for just a little glaziness, right? Mm-hmm. I want that sauce to glaze, not too thin, not too thick, because I don't like goopiness, but right. It looks hydrated. It looks like every bite's going to have a nice amount of sauce. Let me do these scallions on just a slight bias slice. I don't want an extreme bias. What'd you think? Lo mein, pretty simple, huh?
Super simple. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to plate up. There we go, team. I'm going to take the bowl, push over, make sure that if you've done your job as a clean wok cook, by the time you're done cooking, check out that pan. It should be relatively clean, right? You've scraped, you've kept ahead of all the sticky bits, and we've done our job. And then finally, I'm going to take some of these scallions and just do a little garnish. This is one of those meals that you really can kind of get home from work and and knock out probably within 15 minutes. This is pretty real time, the cooking that we did today. So there it is, family.
Oh, it looks delicious.
Yeah, I'll give you a little close up again on the other cam. Mm-hmm. but just there. And that is it. Question.
Well, that was
comment.
very fast. You are right.
Yeah, super easy to do. Other things you should, if you really are interested in stir fry, and this kind of piqued your interest, I would think about going into fried rice next. And I've got a bunch of videos online free, and you can study all my Asian cooking videos and kind of get a sense of, you know, you've taken the first step into a very fun journey of Asian cooking.
Well, and you've really made it easy to follow, and it makes it less intimidating when you have success on something small and gives you a foundation to build upon.
Yeah, my cookbooks are all based on techniques, and they're all foundational. And in education, we call it scaffolding, right? Like,
yes.
I want to teach you how to, you know, do a stir fry, and a stir fry is just essentially a saute. But even within that, I've taught you how to do some knife skills, and within that, I've taught you some vegetables versus protein. So again, I think if you focus on your fundamentals, kids, and you really practice, and if you start correctly, you get really good quickly. Like, hold the knife correctly, understand your guide finger, understand heat, understand oils. But it's really fun. I mean, it really is. You know, it's what I've been doing my entire life, and I've been very lucky to be able to do this.
Well, you make it look seamless, and we appreciate you taking your time out of your day to guide us through this.
It's my pleasure. I hope you learned a thing or two. I hope you continue to cook and you enjoy. And if there's anything I can do for you kids, let me know. It's the day of social media, so anyone can jump right on and send a message and see what's happening. It's pretty amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having you here and spending time with us today.
You got it. It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay.
See you guys later.
All right.